It's not your. No, this is behind the right. Yeah. I think it's
I've been called.
Test 1, 2, test.
It's her birthday. Oh, so she won't be here. But
Now I'm sure enough who we're going.
So I don't know what we have going on. Sorry for that.
You ready, Camilla? Everyone,
This is Justin on Zoom. I can hear.
I will call us to order at 5:02 PM. And I'll start with the land acknowledgement. The Altadena Library District acknowledges its presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Gabrielino Tonga people. Altadena is located on the stolen homelands of the Hahamanga Taiga Band. The traditional territory of the Gabrielino Tonga is referred to as the Vankar, which includes areas currently known as Los Angeles County, Riverside County, West San Bernardino County, parts of Orange County, as well as entities such as the U.S. government and non-native settlers have subjected the Gabrielino Tonga peoples to historic and continuing injustices, including genocide, forced displacement, and cultural and linguistic erasure. Altadena Library commits to learning, educating, and informing its staff and residents of present-day Altadena about the rich history, vibrant community, and culture of the Gabrielino Tonga people, present and past, through our collection development, resources, and program offerings. Okay, I will now do a roll call vote. A roll call. Trustee Lamb.
Here.
Trustee Clark. Here. Trustee Ruffin.
Here.
And I am here. We have a motion to approve the agenda. Okay, is there any public comment on agenda items or non-agenda items? I have no submitted public comment. Awesome. Okay, then we will move to our new business, our owner business of the evening. Review of the Altadena Library District Board of Trustees vacancy, applicants, and recommendation for appointment.
So I'm gonna go ahead and read through how this process will go this evening. So each applicant will be given 3 minutes to speak about themselves and otherwise use the time as it relates to their interest in the trustee appointment. Each applicant will be asked 3 questions by the board. All applicants will be asked the same questions. I'll be drawing names here from my little cookie jar to decide who goes first. And you'll have 3 minutes to answer each of those questions. After we have heard from everyone, the trustees can make a motion to proceed to a roll call vote to select a, applicant for appointment. We'll open up the floor for discussion. If that applicant receives the majority of votes, that person will be recommended, will be appointed. If not, they'll just kind of keep repeating the process until they get a majority vote on an applicant. We have 8 applicants tonight. All of them are here in person, and we do have 1 person joining us remotely. I'm going to go ahead and read off the names. DJ, and please stop me if I'm saying the name incorrectly. So, DJ Prembury, Hannah Demir, Justin Maramas, which is he's online. Lysel Reinhardt, Renee Amy, Roberta L. Rock, it's Rocky, and Sandy York. Okay.
I mean. Paul, how's it going?
Yes. I'll see this one. So yes, 8 applicants. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose names.
And did we, while you're doing that, so, for when you're gonna ask question two, did you all decide which question you'd like to ask? You tell me what question one or two. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, one or three? One or three. I'll do one.
What other?
Okay, so Katie one, Bo two, and then. Wow, is it rough and trusty rough? Okay.
So Sandy York will be one.
Okay, all right. So hello, you may use the podium and the microphone, right? That's what we're doing. And I will ask you to take 3 minutes to introduce yourself and your interest in the trustee position.
Sure. My name is Sandy York. I've been an Altadena resident for 8 years, with my husband. We also have 2 kids, 3 and 6 years old. I'm an occupational therapist. I work in 2 hospitals in East LA and Montebello, and I also work home health in the area. I won't take 3 minutes because I really hate public speaking. So, my interest in the Board of Trustees is that for a long time I've wanted to get more involved in Altadena and serve in some way. And now that my kids are getting older, I feel like I actually have the bandwidth to do that. There you go, and that's pretty much it. Okay. Oh, questions?
Yeah, so, Cindy, thank you so much, for being here and for applying. I'm gonna ask your first question. So trustees are public officials who prepare for, attend, and participate in scheduled board meetings, perform committee work, and attend library and civic events. Can you tell us, please, how do you plan to balance your life and the other demands on your time with those obligations?
Well, I have an excellent support system with my kids, my husband, and my parents. My parents live 8 minutes away from us. They are very helpful just in everyday life, and my husband is also extremely supportive. So I'm able to free up my evenings with help with my family, for my kids, and in terms of the weekend, as long as things don't fall on a Saturday, because I am committed to working at the hospital every Sunday, I'm usually available on weekends.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. What library programs and services do you personally use and value, and why?
We've been attending story time since my oldest was 4 months old. So we've loved that. I also did it with my youngest. We've enjoyed the Lego building that has been offered and the aquarium that came last year. A lot of things with my kids. Personally, I come and I check out books from the library every other week. I also bring my kids because they love to read, and I want to encourage that, and we do that through the library.
So outreach and engagement with the community is vital, especially as the Altadena community recovers from the devastation of the Eden Canyon fire. And as the district approaches closure of the main library for renovations, how would you serve as an ambassador for the district? This might include other public agencies or support groups, community partners, or others you may have in mind.
I'm sure with the closure of the library, there will be promotion of other programs available. I know with the newsletter that is sent out weekly, there's a wealth of information in there and promotion of what's available, not only within the community, but the library. So I would support by promoting everything that the library offers during its closure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Next up, we have, life allotment.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liesl Reinhardt. It's kind of a tough name. So,
Go ahead. When you're
so-
ready, you have 3 minutes. Tell us about
perfect.
yourself and your interest.
Sure. I'm a 25-year resident of Altadena. We live just up the street, or at least we did. We lost our house in the fire. It's been a challenge to not be in Altadena, but one of the first things I did was come back to the library with my daughter the first day it was open again. And she's still attending Mueller, even though we don't live in the district. We come here after school often. She volunteers here. So it feels very homey right now for me to be back in the library. I'm a 30-year educator. I've been working in community college as a full-time educator for over 30 years. I used to teach at Mount SAC for 22 years, and I've been at Pasadena City College for about 5. My fields are media, organizational communication. I was a speech and debate coach for a really long time and traveled around the country and the world with students. And I've also done a lot of work in social justice theater and in organizations. I've served on 2 boards previously. I was a board member of the American Readers Theater Association for 19 years, which is more of a working board. We actually ran a national tournament and those sorts of things, but I handled a lot of the ceremonial aspects of that as well as grant writing and fundraising. I served on Gay Men's Chorus of Los Angeles governing board for 7 years. That was a great experience. I was very active. I worked on their strategic plan, and then I took over the strategic planning process for them and have actually worked as a strategic planning board consultant for several boards, including Vox Femina. Worked with them on a lot of grants, fundraising, partnerships, events. They gave me an award for my work with them, and I really loved it, but I aged out of that board. I probably stayed longer than I was supposed to on their charter, but I really loved my work with them. I've worked as a dean in community colleges and also on the academic senate, so I have a lot of experience with the Brown Act and parliamentary procedure and sunshine laws and all the other kinds of governing things that you need to attend to. Workplace safety training and all of those things are a big part of my regular life. But I previously wanted to do this. One time I applied for this and I was on a plane to Hawaii during this meeting and there was no way for me to Zoom or come in. So I was really glad to see the opportunity come up again. And I'd really be excited to serve with you.
Great, thank you so much. So everybody gets exactly the same question, so you know what's coming, but I'll ask the first one. So trustees are public officials who prepare for, attend, and participate in scheduled board meetings, perform committee work, and attend library and civic events. So please, can you tell us, how do you plan to balance your life and the other demands on your time with these obligations?
Sure. I used to be much more involved than I am with a lot of other organizations now. During COVID, my husband and I, a little bit later in our lives, adopted 2 kids, older kids out of foster care through 5 Acres. And that's been a big change in our lives. And as a result of it, I decided to leave a lot of the civic and arts organizations to focus on that. The kids are a little older now. Johnny's going to be heading off to CSU to transfer in the fall, and my daughter's in 9th grade at Muir and doing really well. And like I said, volunteering here at the library for her service. So this seemed like a really good fit for me. I've reviewed the California Library Trustees Toolkit to see if I'd be up to the requirements and some of the obligations of the position, and I feel confident I can make the time and serve.
What library programs and services do you personally use and value and why?
I think the first thing that brought me here was when we moved in 25 years ago, trying to find the original address for my home so we could go over to the Historical Society and research our home history. And I was amazed when I came in and saw all the historic furniture and the beautiful space and the charm of this library. It won me over immediately. Over the years, gosh, we've done concerts. I wrote down several of them. Oh, what are some of the other things we've done? My gosh, music events, arts and crafts. I made ice cream with my daughter during COVID, bought books during book sales. I use it for meetups with my friends, with their kids. We've checked out things from the Library of Things. We had a heck of a time with the Ghost Hunters kit. My daughter still feels like our old house was haunted. And she asked after it burned down, where do the ghosts go when the house burns down? I'm a Hoopla member. I use it for audio and videos. We participated in the clothing drive. My daughter did the summer reading program. We got our passports here. And just today, because we got a 72-hour call for our lot cleanup, I met with my State Farm adjuster in the library to go over our loss of our property because I needed someplace near the house in case we needed to go up to the property. I really value libraries. I always have. As a speech and debate coach, one of my favorite things was taking students in groups and walking them into the library back when you had to use a card catalog. and saying, this is where we find evidence. And camping out on the floor of the different stacks in whatever college I was at to look for poetry or prose or evidence for their debate case, and help make them understand the role that it plays in their lives. I still bring students to the library in all my classes. I march them over there at our campus library. I send them to their public library when they tell me they don't have internet at home or they can't find resources. Because some of their libraries aren't open on Sundays. I told them that they can go to, I found libraries that are open on Sundays, and I give them a list of those. I think they're incredibly important hubs for everyone in our community.
So outreach to and engagement with the community is vital, especially as the Altadena community recovers from the devastation of the fire. And as the district approaches closure of the main library for renovations, how would you serve as an ambassador for the district? This might include other public agencies or support groups, community partners, or others you have in mind.
Sure. I mean, I think it's going to be very challenging. I mean, we're all spread out. Everybody who's in our community, and particularly this tract, has been decimated. And there are a lot of great online groups that have started up. I think I'm a member of 3 or 4 of them on Discord, on all of these different channels. And a lot of people are communicating virtually, which is a great opportunity for us. I think we really need to ask our community what they need from a library right now. It may be very different than what they would have answered 6 months ago, and see how the library can be responsive. So I think I'm a communication hub. Obviously the board is not the problem solver, but we can be a place for that communication to happen. I don't know that this board ever needs to talk to the media. I'm comfortable doing it. I've represented other boards that I've been a part of on NPR and publications all across the country as needed. One thing that does come up for me is when I look at the political situation that's happening, I'm concerned about libraries, threats to library funding, threats to programming, threats to language, threats to books. And I would consider it a really important responsibility of mine to help gain any legal resources that I can help muster, and use my own history with working in social justice movements to try and shore up the library so it can continue to serve everyone, do the kind of incredible programming that it does. It was a really big deal for me that my daughter got to walk in the Pride March that started at the library. I think it's meaningful that the library is involved with things like Pride Week, ESL training, and all the different cultural programming that happens out of the library. And I would want to make sure that we don't lose that.
Thank you so much.
We have Justin Marama. And Justin is with us remotely, so that's camera going. Awesome.
Hey, can everybody hear me all right? Sorry, was that a yes?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm Justin Bramus. I live over in East Altadena on La Paz Road, close to the Prime Pizza and the library vending machine, which I'm looking forward to seeing back up in service soon. I originally applied for the job or the position that was open right after the fires occurred, and I was originally really interested in this position, just knowing what the library is going through, both with the renovation of the Bob Lucas Library as well as the upcoming renovation of the main library. I think it's a really important time for the library and the community, and it's become even more important now that we're sort of coming out of the recovery and people are really looking to the library now that it's reopened for services and bringing community together and events. I am by training a land use attorney. I apologize for not being in person with everybody today. I actually got called into a hearing in West Hollywood, so I'm coming to you from my car right now. But what I do is really on exactly what the library is going through right now with those renovation projects. I review and analyze environmental documents for CEQA. I go through land use permitting, zoning, entitlements, and I work with community members to make sure that any competing interests are addressed and that everyone sort of being heard and bring really all the different players to a compromise on making sure that as construction projects occur and all the different things that may be both positive and negative during that process, that everybody is involved and we get to a successful resolution. So I really want to be involved in that process for the community, as well as the process of the surrounding rebuild and really bringing Altadena back to, you know, where it was and better than it was prior to the fires.
Thank you.
All right, Justin, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna ask your first question. So trustees are public officials who prepare for, attend, and participate in scheduled board meetings, perform committee work, and attend library and civic events. Can you please tell us how you plan to balance your life and other demands on your time with those obligations?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I'm not there with you guys tonight. I have a lot of demands that actually involve me going to meetings very similar to the board. I'm also on a board in West Los Angeles, the Mar Vista Family Center, in which I've been a board member of for the past 5 years. I'm now on the executive committee and a treasurer, so I have time commitments there as well. For me, it's really about making sure that my resources and time are spent where they're most needed and where I really am passionate about spending them. So I make sure that I'm very particular about the different groups and boards that I join, as well as how I sort of fold work into that. But for me, it's about just making sure there's, you know, a little bit of notice for those meetings. In this case, I really thought I would be with you guys in person until about 10 p.m. last night when I found out I had to come out to West Hollywood. But yeah, things that are on the agenda, board meetings that are scheduled, you know, a month out, different community events. It's really just about prioritization and really isn't a problem for me to attend and make this commitment for this particular board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. What library programs and services do you personally use and value and why?
Yeah, well, certainly the ability to access as many audiobooks as possible. I find my time commuting is sort of the most wasted time in between the different commitments that I have. So as many audiobooks as I can have at any given time queued up is always important to me. I mentioned this, I think, in the last time I spoke with this board. Really can't say enough about the ability of the library to be open and flexible and have the resources to, if they don't have something on their shelves, to actually purchase it for community members, put it on their shelves, send it directly to those community members before it gets returned to the library. I think with everybody that's displaced at the moment, that's even a more important concept. And one thing that I really haven't had a chance to utilize as much is the Library of Things, and I'm looking forward to doing that as soon as I'm back in Altadena on a permanent basis.
All right, Justin, outreach to and engagement with the community is vital, especially as the Altadena community recovers from the devastation of the Eaton Canyon fire. As the district approaches closure of the main library for renovations, how would you serve as an ambassador for the district? This might include other public agencies or support groups, community partners, or others you have in mind.
Yeah, thank you. So I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but a large part of what I do is community engagement. It's making sure that not only is the community informed, but we can bring together competing interests. I can imagine that that may happen a lot as the library is closed down. We need to make sure that our community members both have the resources that they need if they have to find it, you know, within Altadena or outside of Altadena while the libraries are closed. But also making sure that, you know, as something closes, as construction projects are occurring, as the rebuilds occurring, that these different groups, these different constituencies are well aware of, you know, exactly what's going on, the facts of what are going on, and they're assured of, you know, and trust in not just the library, but their local government agencies to let them know exactly what the facts are and how they can, you know, get the resources that they need. I'm fully comfortable doing that, attending community meetings, engaging with anyone from the supervisor's office to local residents around the area. So completely, completely engaged and wanting to be able to be engaged for the library and on their behalf.
Thank you very much, Justin, for your time.
Thank you.
Please have them.
Hello, my name is Hannah Demir and I've been an Altadena resident since 2021. And like so many others, I also lost my home in the Eaton fire. My husband, son, and I moved to Altadena to be closer to the mosque and to be more connected to our Muslim community. But we found Altadena to be more than what we could have ever expected. We really fell in love with the nature, the beautiful historic architecture, and the wonderful community, and especially the library. The Altadena Library felt like I discovered a treasure, especially because none of my friends or family had ever been here or seen it. But all Altadenans know how special the library is, and continues to be after the devastating fires. But we are so grateful that the library survived, and we're looking forward to its role in Altadena's recovery. And we're also looking forward to all the summer events like the summer reading challenges, just as we did before. Professionally, I currently work as a senior staff accountant for Mise en Place Restaurant Service, and I'm finishing my MS in accounting at Cal State LA. I think my professional knowledge as an accountant can be utilized in the coming years, as Altadena Library will be facing budget issues with the loss of property tax revenues, and I hope that I can serve this community as we recover emotionally and financially in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. So first question, trustees are public officials who prepare for, attend, and participate in scheduled board meetings, perform committee work, and attend library and civic events. So can you please tell us how you plan to balance your life and the other demands on your time with those obligations?
Yes. Like so many others, I have a full-time job as an accountant, and I also am a mother. So, and I'm also a full-time student at Cal State LA right now. So I'm very familiar with the difficulty of meeting several schedules, but I'm fortunate enough to have a family close by and to help with childcare. Just like this afternoon, somebody's watching my son. So I'm finishing up my degree this spring, so I feel like I'll have more time to commit to being a trustee in Altadena Library.
Thank you.
And what library programs and services do you personally use and value?
When my son was young, we used to come to the story times, and those are magical days sitting on the lawn under the deodar trees. I felt like we were in heaven. So now that he's older, he's reading now, so he's always in the early reader section. And I personally love the hiking backpacks, which I've checked out a few times. And I really love our library of things. And so I feel like the library has something to offer for every season of life. And so personally, even though I won't be hiking in our foothills anytime soon, you know, I could use a sewing machine from the library of things coming up.
So outreach to and engagement with the community is vital, especially as the Altadena community recovers from the fire. And as this district approaches closure, the main library for renovations, how would you serve as an ambassador for the district? This could include public agencies, other support groups, community partners, or others you have in mind.
So before the fires, I always loved how the library was always at every community event, every farmer's market, every festival, every, you know, summer concert. So as we transition to rebuilding Altadena, I think the outreach is even more important. And I think because Altadena Library is already a staple in the community, it's just going to be expected that the Altadena Library is present. And so just continuing to support the community by attending community events. And I'd love to serve as an ambassador for the library to continue its legacy as a community pillar. And, you know, everybody needs that familiarity right now. And I think that's the Altadena Library serves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. First off, I want to thank the Board of Trustees and the administration here for the opportunity. It's just exceptional privilege to even have an opportunity to contemplate a candidacy for the open position. And to my other fellow candidates as well. Great job. We all made it and are participating. And I think, again, it's just a true testament to this community, how much we all care for the library, how much we all are nerds for the library. And it's a great thing. As for myself, I'm actually a native Las Vegan, so I don't have the deep roots as many do here. I actually escaped Las Vegas and now I'm here in California. My parents eloped and moved to Vegas, but I like to think that I came back. And I think what has been amazing is finding a home here in the foothills. For me, we have deep roots. My brother-in-law has been in Altadena for over a decade. My in-laws actually live at Montecedro, the assisted living community right off here in Mariposa that thankfully they were able to move back to. So for us, Altadena is really much home. For me, I think that it's been just a tremendous space here in Altadena, finding communities, finding people to journey with in life. And I think that's what's been even more apparent post-fire. It's just a need for community and connection. And I think I've been heartened to see that carry on. And what has been an amazing foothold is to see that the library has persisted and is already contemplating how is it going to evolve with what Altadena looks like post-fire. I think that what we've all realized is that our houses were not our homes. Our homes are what we made it to be. And I think even as what the library evolves to in the lack, as so many of us lost our houses, I think it's even more important that the library becomes that place for all of us to be held. With that, I just am really excited just to offer up my time and some talents, treasure perhaps too, if necessary, to really help steward the library into the next phase, the challenging lean years as we contemplate what will be difficult with the reassessment of property taxes, but also hopefully, as everyone has been encouraging us at the Disaster Recovery Center, the uptick in property taxes and what the library can benefit from and what can we do in the long-term strategic planning of what with all the additional funding. So thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. All right, first question. So trustees are public officials who prepare for, attend, and participate in scheduled board meetings, perform committee work, and attend library and civic events. So if you could please tell us how you plan to balance your life and other demands on your time with these obligations.
Absolutely. So this is not a unilateral decision. This was a decision of my candidacy that was made as a family with my partner and our children. And I'm heartened to say that I just completed B school. So getting that off my plate has been a tremendous accomplishment. Also, I'm also grateful to be stepping down from an AYSO coaching position. So as you all know, who have been participated with, all your Saturdays belong to us. I will have a lot of freedom on Saturdays. And currently right now I am serving on the board of trustees at the Child Education Center in La Cañada. And as my children have aged and are growing older, I'm hopeful to take what learnings that I had there on that board, especially in my role as treasurer and vice president of finance. And though I could see all the subtractions in addition of being on the board of trustees here at the Altadena Library and also, rebuilding my house as well as many in our community.
Thanks, TJ. What library programs and services do you personally use, you value, and want?
A lot. I think, definitely one of the first things I did was when we moved to Altadena was stop by the library and get a library card. I'm now a library card holder of the New York Public Library, the Los Angeles Public Library, Burbank, when I used to go in office, and also now Alhambra and San Marino, and eventually South Pass. I think the Library of Things absolutely blew my mind. I think that concept is amazing and really demystifies what people think of the library, right? It's really beyond, it's about creating access and equity for everybody. So being able to check out a telescope and check out the stars and see the craters on the moon were absolutely a joy for me to share with my girls. They also got to play the Nintendo Switch because of the Library of Things. So I'm not ashamed to say that I'm somebody who did check out the Switch and used it and did return it within the 2-week time period. But also just the programming. The programming, I think even Hannah mentioned it too, about how the Curiosity Connection is everywhere. I remember a festival going on right here in Mariposa, And the team was out there creating a couple coasters and just incorporating, just again, the presence of what the library is beyond the physical structure was amazing. But again, just the programming itself, the summer reading challenges. My pre-K kid is undergoing that 1,000 books before kindergarten, which is actually a lot. It's a lot of books because I always forget to log into Beanstack. But I do love it. I think it's great. And again, when summer rolls around again, I'll get both my kids on a Beanstack app because they love scanning the QR codes and the barcodes to see what pops up. Again, Library of Things I think is just tremendous. I haven't seen a library else amongst all my other memberships where they do something similar to that degree. And again, just being local, thinking about, wow, we have tremendous access to parks and nature and of giving park passes. I mean, that's great. That's such a unique, specific thing to this community that I absolutely value.
So outreach to and engagement with the community is vital, especially as the community recovers from the fire. As the district approaches closure of the main library renovations, how would you serve as an ambassador for the district? This might include other public agencies or support groups, community partners, or others you have in mind.
Absolutely. So what has also really revealed about itself through the fire, and I think I keep using the phrase of refinement, is that it stripped away a lot, but obviously what it left behind was this beautiful infrastructure of this community here in Altadena. And what I see and value as someone who would be potentially contemplated to be on the board is to tap into those grassroots connections. I think we've seen it with the myriad number of WhatsApp groups and Discord communication channels and how many nonprofits have popped up. I mean, there's just a lot of groundswell of energy. And I think it is important, as Liesl mentioned, to go and be a listening ear, not to necessarily be the solution for everything, but again, to listen, understand the pulse, and using the weekly, Altadena Connections, which I love as a name because it makes so much sense. That's what we need in that newsletter to really help distill and become that beacon of truth. I think that's where it's important to be on the ground, and whether that is hanging out with Jeffrey Prang and kind of figuring out exactly what's going to happen with all our property taxes, and is it Catherine Barger's office, is it Herabedian and Sasha Perez? Maybe that's part of it, but I also think it's connecting with the Lions and the Rotary and all these existing other community, the American Legion. I think what we saw is just this amazing network that exists today, and how do we kind of evolve beyond that physical place of just this main library and eventually Bob Lucas, which will reopen, but how are we being that connector? And I think that's something that I treasure doing, given my grassroots experience, given what I do within my own crazy, highly matrix organization, is that I help find people and I connect them. I don't always do the problem solving myself, but I help facilitate that. And I think that's what I would really like to do within this position.
Thank you.
Everyone. All right, so my name is Paul Lisi. I'm originally from New York, but I've also lived in Chicago before moving to Los Angeles over a decade ago with my girlfriend, now wife, Wendy, who was living in Boston at the time. Clearly, we were both done with snow shovels. We moved to Pasadena with our cockapoo Rocco in 2014 and purchased our home in Altadena in 2019. And now with 2 kids, ages 5 and 9, we couldn't be more proud or happy with the community that we've chosen for our family. As a senior strategy executive in the logistics and operations management space, I spent the last 2 decades leading large teams of people, overseeing cross-functional projects and optimizing operations for both the short term and the long term. I've set and managed budgets in the hundreds of millions of dollars and bring extensive expertise in strategic planning. Recently, as a senior director at a multi-billion-dollar industrial supply company, I juggled smaller active construction projects and then the longer-term strategic ones that were for the future. For example, I opened a 300,000 square foot auxiliary freight facility for our largest products while extending the life of our main distribution center for 10 years. I was also accountable for an office expansion that included the construction of a new cafeteria, enhanced building and property security, and a conversion to reclaim water for irrigation. And given the construction and planning efforts that the Altadena libraries will undertake over the next few years, I'm hopeful these experiences will be helpful to the current board and the community it serves. I think more importantly, as a lifelong lover of libraries and all they represent, I'd be honored to serve on the board. You know, my family's an extensive user of our community library services. I'd love to take this opportunity to give back. You know, every Monday through Thursday, I pick up my two kids from school. We head to a local library to do their homework before sports practices in the evening. During soccer season, we actually spend 2 of those days in the South Pasadena Library. And during baseball season, we spend 2 of the days in the Allendale branch of the Pasadena Library. So my kids are very well versed in many of the neighborhood libraries. Like DJ said, I have a lot of cards in my wallet. And, you know, while we love them all, the Altadena Library has been a constant. You know, that's our favorite. It's an extension of our home. It's here that we've read countless books together while they were learning to read, where we spend too much time at the Friends for Altadena book sale libraries in the parking lot, where we color and hang gnomes on holiday displays as a family. You know, after we evacuated from our home at the night of the Eden fire, we checked and rechecked numerous different sources of information to determine the status of the library. We heard a couple different things a couple different times, and you know, thankfully it's still standing, and we eagerly awaited its reopening. And yes. Oh, okay, I'm good.
Thank you. Whatever you're gonna say, Paul, David, and then strategically.
I tried to write these out because I know I can talk too long.
You're good. All right, so question 1. Trustees are public officials who prepare for, attend, and participate in scheduled board meetings, perform committee work, and attend library and civic events. So if you can, please tell us how you plan to balance your life and the other demands on your time with those obligations.
Yeah, you know, I really appreciate this question because applying to this position as a volunteer in my community a year ago would have been just impossible. In my last job, I worked my way up from an analyst to supervisor to manager, senior manager, director, senior director. I was eventually reporting to the owner of this, you know, private multi-billion-dollar company, and I didn't have time. You know, I dropped my 2 kids off at school, and then you know, I wouldn't see them till the next day. You know, I'd get home, I'd be at work till 11 o'clock. I'd drive home from Santa Fe Springs, heat up a microwave dinner, say hi to my wife, and kind of just do it again. And you know, my wife, Wendy, she was still at the big law firm that she joined after law school, and she was chronicling her life in 6-minute increments for business purposes every day. And yeah, maybe we were both successful, but it wasn't right. It was time for a change. We both left our jobs. Wendy recently took a job as a lawyer, at an in-house firm, and I do my best to manage the house, which is probably, you know, a little crazy, but that's okay. And you know, I think with that, I now have the time to do the things I should have been doing all along. You know, I think, you know, I'm the manager of my son's soccer team. I'm the assistant coach to his baseball team. They're playing right now, so this is weird for me to be here. This is actually a time when I'm not with him, which is odd, you know. And managing the dugout for 3rd and 4th graders is actually more chaotic than managing shipping 17,000 orders every 12 hours. But it's time that I wouldn't get back. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm looking to volunteer on the board, is to focus on time that's meaningful. You know, right now, like many of us, you know, many of my hours are spent dealing with an insurance company and remediation companies as we clean our house. It's thankfully still standing, but we're not back home yet. And I did not anticipate spending so much time trying to find temporary housing or trying to measure what refrigerators would fit in the nook in my kitchen. But you know, I take comfort that we're all going through similar things. You know, I've heard it for everyone who's spoken today. And you know, I think if you're able, I think now's the time where you could actually step up and try and help if you can, and if your skill sets kind of match.
Thank you. personal comment, I'd like to say as a person who's used to investor. Supply chain for single day delivery for JPL and other aerospace companies.
I gave a personal tour to the Mars rover team.
What library programs and services do you personally use and value and why?
Okay, you know, at the most basic level, my family uses the library all the time. It's a place to read and look for the next great book. You know, we make the purchase suggestions, we make use of the convenient passport services. We take part in the community events geared for the kids. Apparently, we're going to make a clock out of fruit tomorrow to learn about electricity. You know, what services you personally use and what you value don't need to be the same thing. And I think for a board member, that's especially true. You know, what I really value is that the library serves many roles in the community. You know, there's the toddler story time, adult literacy, English as a second language programs, and a physical space dedicated to teens. You know, so to steal a title from Alexandra Penfold's book on inclusion, all are welcome here. And yes, I did read that book from the Altadena Library. It's a safe and welcoming place where we can connect, learn, and grow during all phases of our life. And that's why it was so challenging when the library was closed after the Eaton fire. You know, for me, it's not always about a program or a service, but just about having a place to be. You know, the library is a physical manifestation of our community. We come here to be with others. We come here to be by ourselves. We come here to think. We come here to rest and escape. And if the library wasn't here, where would we go and how would we do the things that we've always done? You know, now, luckily, we don't have to manage that specific problem, but we do have similar challenges on the horizon with when the main library closes for repairs and modernization. You know, this is a vital hub for the sharing of information and ideas. So we need to ensure that it remains that way during construction through thoughtful planning. And hopefully I could help in that regard, given my professional experience and the roles that I've had in strategic planning, construction, and operation during active expansions.
Hey, Paul. So outreach to and engagement with the community is vital, especially as the Altadena community recovers from the fire. And as the district approaches closure of the main library for renovations, how would you serve as an ambassador for the district? This might include other public agencies or support groups, community partners, or others you have in mind.
Yeah, you know, I think the library does a really nice job of engaging and helping the community. The Altadena news email aggregates the relevant news for our community in an effort to connect people to the knowledge they need. And, you know, that knowledge and information spans a great range. You know, this year, there's been lots of details pertaining to the disaster recovery center hours, relief programs for small businesses, grants for impacted individuals, where to get basic supplies, and, you know, events for healing. And, you know, this pivot to the needs of the present reminds me of actually one of my family's first uses and interactions with the library. You know, we moved into our home right before my daughter was born in 2019, so right before the COVID-19 pandemic. And, you know, a few months later, the world and then the library, you know, it just shut down. But the library adapted. You know, the library began to offer curbside pickup. And, you know, we scoured those lists and requested books upon books as my son prepared to go to a new school, start kindergarten remotely. You know, but it was so exciting when we brought home that stack of books. And it was so meaningful that smart and caring people at the library were adapting their processes to meet the challenge of the day. And you can only make those connections if you're a good listener. I think DJ said something very similar. You know, at my previous job, I was put in charge of many diverse cross-functional teams. I was able to connect the sometimes competing priorities of our HR department, our recruiting department, our facilities department, our operations department, and our expansion departments. You know, I'm curious by nature, and, you know, I ask a lot of questions. Sometimes that could be annoying. I recognize that. But doing so helps me stumble upon points of friction and uncover areas for knowledge sharing. And so I think as a board member, hopefully I can help the library by just being a good listener to facilitate those connections when needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So hi, everyone. I'm Renee Amy. It sounds like I got 3 minutes to talk about myself, so I'm not going to take all that time. I hope. One weird thing though, two thoughts driving over here. I realized in many ways, my life is an open book. Yeah, and I hate to say that, but for the last 30 years or so, many of the things that I have been involved with have shown up either on TV, radio, in newspapers, or online. And you know, a lot of people think they know me, and I've been up here enough times. That's weird. I do have a head, but not according to this camera. But maybe they're showing my best part. But all that to say, this has been my home, this area within what I would term spitting distance, for more than 40 years. I've lived within just a few miles of Altadena. I don't know how many here were here to vote against the annexation of Altadena by Pasadena, but I'm looking at the gray hairs on my beard, and that's the other weird thing. I realize almost certainly I'm the oldest person here. I may not have the most experience in Altadena. I don't know that for certain. But something that the last decade of my life has been about building community. And you know, my face, my face shows up everywhere in various media outlets and recently, especially since the fire. But what some people don't know about me, for example, I started off in libraries as a volunteer in high school. Pretty much every day after school, I would be in my local library in beautiful Bloomington, Indiana, volunteering there, facing bookshelves and all that. My mom, late in life, got herself an MLS degree and became a reference librarian in a college. That was her dream, that was her interest, and she did it. Again, since undergrad, coming out here about 45 years ago, I've been a very active volunteer in a lot of fields. Obviously, I'm a licensed general contractor. I have a whole lot of certifications in the way of codes, building codes. I serve as a long-term member for the California Building Standards Commission on one of their advisory committees. I am an attorney. I am a community member. And for me, the biggest loss wasn't the loss of my home or my neighborhood or, you know, whatever. It was the loss of community and the dysphoria we now have throughout Altadena. And I got to tell you another thing, walking in here and seeing Kenny's art touched me very deeply. Because I was at several of these locations back in the good days when he was painting them. And I nearly kicked him off the lot over at Altadena Grocery Outlet when he was standing there kind of blocking traffic to paint the remains of the post office. And I think I told you I wouldn't, and look at me, once again, right? Well, you can't. Anyway, questions?
Okay. So you know how question one goes, but I'm gonna read it to you anyway. All right, trustees are public officials who prepare for, attend, and participate in scheduled board meetings, perform committee work, and attend library and civic events. So if you can, please tell us how you plan to balance your life and the other demands on your time with these obligations.
And that is a great question. And the answer is, to some degree, I'm already there. I've heard people talking about different events. In several instances, I've actually invited the library to please come out and attend events over at the, let's say, community garden, one of the distribution events, say, at grocery outlet, things like that. But you know, summer concerts, one of the candidates mentioned the summer concert series. As a member of Altadena Rotary, I'm very active in the community that way. And so, you know, there's that element, but the reality is I do best. I function best when I'm busy. I like to cross-pollinate, to percolate. I do have a lot of things on my plate. I'm an ambassador for several different organizations, received awards for such. But again, cross-pollination and keeping busy is the best way for me to work. So yeah.
Thank you, Renee, for helping the community. I see you are on the line. What library programs and services do you personally use and value?
So actually, right? Everybody uses the library for this, that, and the other thing. I mean, I come in for the art, I come in for the this, that, and the other thing, the Fab Lab books, etc. But thank you, Altadena Library District, for covering my backside this weekend when the Wi-Fi in a frickin' Airbnb I'm staying in went down. And there was my little hotspot that I thought, will I ever need this thing and will it ever work? And lo and behold, it did. So, you know, and the other thought in all of this is, being an old graybeard, the idea of the internet of, or not the internet of things, the library of things, I've been active in the library since before that existed, when it was just a former library director's idea to have that, and she faced great resistance from the board. So again, old graybeard may have the advantage of having seen and talked about all these things before, including the closing of the main library for renovation. A little bit different, but I was around at that point. So, and question number 3, please.
And the second ways into that, so outreach to and engagement with the community is vital, especially as the Altadena community recovers from the devastation of the. And as the district approaches closure of the main library for renovations, how would you serve as an ambassador for the district? This might include other public agencies or support groups, community partners, or others you have in mind.
So again, that's stuff I already do, in spades, as they say. For example, I'm all over it, Nextdoor. That's my methodology of outreach to the community, my methodology of choice. There are now about 15,000, likely more, folks. I would guess as high as 20,000 from the local community on the Nextdoor feed for this area. I've been part of that for more than a decade and seen it grow substantially. It's actually grown since the fire. That's my primary outreach, my kind of daily driver, if you will. I posted a picture of some wildflowers growing on my burned out lot this morning. I've had over 3,500 local views and reads of the comments about that. And I think almost 100 responses to it in terms of, you know, likes and all that sort of stuff from locals. So I'm plugged in there. And you know, I'm really plugged in with local, regional, and national media. And so to any degree that, as the library is, I mean, I got to say things like the LeVar Burton event was incredible. That was so needed by so many people, myself included. And that's another aspect of this, because I'm out in the community, and thank you, Boone, for assisting with the various distribution events you've been to. I believe that it's not about talking the talk, it's actually about walking and doing the hard work. And Boone has been a great representative for the Altadena Library District Board by being out there actually working and not just talking to people. I think that's critically important in terms of building community and building a sense that we're all in this together as we are. So I realize that I have the opportunity to overstep bounds, but I also understand somebody asked, whichever question it was, number 1 or 2, about time. I don't have time to go out there and be a media hound, if you will. I got plenty of that. What I really need back, as I've told lots of people, is I need my community back. And I think the Altadena Library District is one of the few actual players that can help make that happen. So I hope to have the pleasure of being of assistance. I think that's it. Yay! Thank you.
Well, I'm Roberta Robb, but nobody calls me that except the IRS. I am a local. I grew up in Alhambra, but I went to high school up here. I've been a resident of Altadena since I think 96 or 97. Wanted to live near the mountains. I can walk out my front door and be the JPL parking lot trail in 5 or 7 minutes. I live over by George's Liquor, west of Lincoln. So my neighborhood was pretty unscathed. I'm over by George Lucas or Bob Lucas Library. I am a construction consultant for government agencies. My field is municipal project controls. So I've worked for over 20 years for LAUSD, City of Santa Monica, Los Angeles County Department of Public Works, and currently I'm consulting for Los Angeles County Internal Services Department. I manage construction finance, work orders, change orders, and POs for projects under about $20 million. That's all I do all day. I look at construction documents for smallish projects, including small projects like this library would be. It isn't a small project for Altadena libraries, however. This is going to be one of the largest, the reconstruction of the library is going to be one of the largest events in the library's history. I would be delighted and honored to help the library with construction expertise as it comes along. It can eat you alive. Construction costs always run over, construction time always runs over. You can't see it coming. There'll be stuff that pops up. I'm an easy person to get along with. I'm congenial, collegiate. I have patience, understanding. I'm an evangelist for libraries. I grew up in a library household. My father was an executive at LA County Library System. I'm the first person in my family to never work in a library. All my aunts, uncles, mom, and sister worked at libraries. My dad met my mom at LA County Public Library. That's about it for me, I think.
Thanks so much. All right, question 1. So trustees are public officials who prepare for, attend, and participate in scheduled board meetings, perform committee work, and attend library and civic events. So if you can, please tell us how you plan to balance your life and other demands on your time with those obligations.
Yeah, I would just regard this as a part-time job for the 2 years of this term. This would be a crucial 2-year period for the library construction, both of Bob Lucas and here. I would be able to devote a lot of time and energy to that for these 2 years. I think I'll probably be pooped out from the construction stress of it after 2 years. I think it's going to be a big deal to have it closed, and all the stuff that's going to come up. But yeah, I work obviously full-time during the day, but my hours are very flexible. I work remotely. And I as long as I'm online 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. when like my job is on, they don't really care when I work. So as long as I get 8 billable hours in a day, the rest of the time is my own. I could attend meetings, correspondence, emails, phone calls during the day at my discretion, and then after working hours, I'm available and on weekends as well.
Thank you, Roberta. What library programs and services do you personally use primarily and why?
Library concerts. I try not to miss one. They're my community. I'm not much of a dancer, but the bands are always great. I check out the physical books, DVDs, and sometimes digital books. We have come to the outdoor movie nights that were in the parking lot. Those are great. We've used the automatic book box outside. That thing's great. My boyfriend's girl loves the Fab Lab, the 3D printer. I would love to be shown how to use that sometimes. It's just miraculous. We have just recently used the State Parks Pass. We've used that a few times. We went camping in Big Sur. I love it that you can get that at the library. Yeah. We've used the telescope when we went to Malibu and used the state parks back there. When I'm back here in Altadena, I would love to visit one of the health screening sessions because my blood pressure has just skyrocketed in the last year. And I have sometimes come with my boyfriend to Wednesday night chess nights because he loves to teach people to play chess. Yeah.
Go on. So outreach to and engagement with the community is vital, especially as the community recovers from the devastation of the fire. And as the district approaches closure of the main library for renovations, how would you serve as an ambassador for the district? This might include other public agencies, support groups, community partners, or others you have in mind.
I think the library's already got a pretty good handle on being virtual, thanks to COVID. Like all libraries have stepped up their virtual game. I think I don't know what else could be done. I'm not a huge ideas person. I'm more of an analyst. So I'm not sure, like myself, how to spin up ideas for continuing or expanding our virtual outreach to our far-flung Altadena family, and how to keep in touch with people while the library is closed. I hear that there's going to be a pop-up library over in Loma Alta on my side of town, which was fantastic news. That will be at least something. There'll be, I don't know what will be over there, but there'll be something so that people can still connect with their library. But as for what I can do, I'm a talker. I'm not much for social media, but I will evangelize the library. I think we could have library info up at the McDonald's window, at the cash registers, at grocery outlet. You know, there's always those community things up next to the cash register of the grocery outlet. Barrels Burger is a community partner. The grocery outlet people are community partners. We could have events in their parking lot. I think we should talk to KPCC. We could have library minutes. We could have a library minute at each Altadena Town Hall. Or, the town council meetings, not town hall, the town council meetings. I haven't been to a meeting in a long time, but I don't know if the library is represented there. Just a minute to keep everybody informed on what the library is doing. I think it's important to keep the community updated on how the construction will be going. Like, no matter how well it goes, people will just see the library closed and kind of drift away or wonder why it's taking so long or why is it so expensive. So I think keeping people in the loop on how the library construction is going will be important. I think we should try to get as much funding outside of independent funding as possible. Independent library funding is going to be very important. It seems like not tied to political sources so that we can continue to provide the resources that we want to provide. I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you all for being with me. And it's a very interesting conversation, very different. But thank you all for being here and being interested in supporting the library. As most of you said, this is really the cornerstone of community. And so just really grateful that there's so much interest in supporting the library in this way and giving of your time in this way. I don't know if any of you had anything that you wanted to say in your life, but.
So, this is great. The fact that everyone here is really, really. I guess my one exhortation, is that we've seen folks come in and they're excited, and unfortunately, there's only one position to fill, right? But there's other opportunities within the community, and I do think that it's something that we as a board haven't done enough of. Maybe evangelizing in terms of subcommittees or ad hoc committees, and putting more folks, within the ecosystem so that you can help, because I really feel it's a shame that only one of your 8 will be here, but I feel like everybody can help. And given the trying times in our community, I think many hands will make lighter. That's all my exhortation is.
No, I could not agree with you more, Glenn. That's exactly right. And just sort of to that end, I will say, I know no matter what the situation with your home is, it's a lot right now. And all of us are going through it, and I'm so sorry. And just the fact that you're here on a Monday night at 6:12 p.m. Thank you so much. I know there are a million other things you could be doing and probably need to be doing. But like Boone said, the library really needs you. And we only have one chair, and this state of California doesn't allow us to expand our board, unilaterally to tell people. But I hope that no matter what the outcome is tonight, that you hang around afterwards and let us bend your ear about what the Friends of the Library need, what the Library Foundation needs. We have amazing support groups who need your help. And they work very, very closely with our board. They do incredible work. We really rely on them to continue all of the things that you guys are saying tonight is exactly what we're prepared up to. So if you're not in this chair, we hope you'll be in one of those chairs, because we really do need you.
Everybody I think said what needed to be said, so, to echo that, I just want to say thank you, and everybody's highly qualified, and stay involved with us, stay with us.
Now get the better part. All right.
So, I'll open it up to a fellow trustee if there is, one thing that so the whole word is, one of the trustees and make a nomination, of one of you, to fill this seat, and it will be, maybe seconded and then voted on, as Catalina said earlier. It has to receive a majority vote of 3 out of the 4, of the current trustees, and if, we deliberate, as long as it takes, so we can find a majority unanimous decision.
And we're gonna talk about you in front of you, which is really weird. No, legally, no. We have to do it. It's deeply uncomfortable, so please enjoy this. Really weird.
I just know that we all do.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's awkward.
And everyone,
Yeah. Not me. No, I did not ever get.
you did it old fashioned.
Just nobody wanted to appoint me, so I was like, fine. All right.
If I can kind of start.
Well, actually, I have a quick, after much consideration, thinking about the time and effort required for this, I actually would like to withdraw my candidacy. I think that, in thinking about it and disclosing it and understanding and speaking it out loud, I realize that, a role as a trustee is going to require a significant amount of time and effort, and I don't feel that I would be able to do my best in that role. So I think that there are other, as we all mentioned, excellently qualified, and I think in the interim, a subcommittee might be something that might be more palatable for my own time and talents.
Okay.
So now I'm down to 7. You guys are.
Thank
But thank you again for the opportunity.
Could I have a quick clarification? This was for District 3, correct?
It's, this seat is open,
Right.
so in 2026, when
Right.
this seat is up for election, if we're not in District 3, unfortunately, we will not be able to run for that election year.
Right.
But regardless, it's at large currently, so we're all qualified.
Okay.
I'll start off, I guess,
Thank you.
for, well, it's hard, but I think for debate, I think the top two for me, forgive me if I say your name wrong. This one. It's,
I just use Liesel. Diesel.
I think.
Diesel's a good one.
I think you and Justin were the two that stood out for me the most, and I'm torn between the two. But if there's anybody with a similar mindset or would like to discuss, discuss that.
Barring my like master bias, I think Paul is also very strong and actually probably just about everyone, to be perfectly honest. But and maybe I misheard this, but are you essentially semi-retired? So you have a little bit of free time on your end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're living a life.
It's not
So
bad.
to me, that's
It got a little more hectic, after January. I was not,
I think that's a nice addition in terms of time-wise balancing that.
Yeah, I'd say so I'm very aware that we have recently lost the other board member who was holding down the facilities committee with me. And that is like a big time commitment. My top two contenders at this time would be Justin and Paul. Not that I don't think everybody is qualified, but that's sort of where I'm landed for now.
I have three. EJ, Liesel and Hannah, I think has, and also Justin from last time I remember.
Yeah.
It's so hard because he has the land use background, we have accounting background. I love a lot of what you said, Liesel. Yeah, I would take any of them.
Yeah, that's tough.
So, yeah.
It sucks. I wish we could do like ranked choice voting.
Yeah, this is like, agonizing. For me, I guess, given, I think, kind of what we need, I think Justin's background fits a lot of what we need going forward. But talks about that is, I know there's so many people that are qualified, but I think his background is probably the best fit for what we need going forward.
Yeah, I was thinking that when I know when I asked, I was like, oh, did he apply again? Because I remember.
He did apply twice.
Yeah. I remember wondering that as we were going through this process, because he had such a niche skill set that I felt like we needed at that time. So I hear that.
That was right? He's literally in the midst of like a CEQA thing.
That's his
right now.
gig, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a super guy.
But what is our CEQA timeline? In terms of-
I would love to tell you.
Is this gonna be, yeah,
Our CEQA timeline is a constant struggle to force LA County to do their
Right.
job. No, we're in the middle of it, right? Like, so we're going through, the EIR process. And so right now, our application it's been submitted. We went through the first round of, basically public feedback. So now it's with various county departments to tell us if they have any issues, and then there'll be another round of public feedback, and then we'll go to the hearing. So, there's a lot of road between here and there. I think we're doing okay. I'm not, as concerned as I was 4 months ago. I think we've made pretty good progress. But I think that it is a complex process, and if I've learned anything about working with LA County on trying to build something, it's that it can go horribly wrong at any minute. So yeah.
I don't know if it has bearing, because I think that you're good at this also, Katie, but I also liked, one thing that stood out was Liesel says she's very comfortable with the media. And also the Brown Act was really, also a good highlight, but
Yeah.
so many good things.
I know.
It's tough, but I can make a motion. I like
All right,
to
I'd like
nominate
to
Justin
Okay,
as the next, if we could vote on that.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned and properly seconded. It will take a roll or do a roll call vote, right? Okay. Do we need to?
Is that a point of order vote? I don't know.
All right, well, trustee Ruffin,
Aye.
trustee Clark,
Aye.
trustee Lim,
I don't know if I bought you that much time.
Goodness. I like, what time is it? You know what, I am gonna let the president decide.
Ooh. Ooh.
Wow, that buck just got passed. That is rude.
Oh. I'm gonna say yes. Yeah.
All right.
So it is.
That's it. Yeah, motion carried. All right.
So uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for bearing witness to the discomfort of
And just
that.
apology. This is the way we
Yeah.
have to do it, but yeah.
And you're all such really strong candidates. And I wanted to say to you too, Renee, I really love what you said about community. I was really moved by most of what you said. So thank you so much for speaking to that. So important right now. Yeah, thank you all so much.
Well, thank you guys. You did a nice job up there.
Sorry.
And thank you all. I greatly appreciate this honor.
Yeah, that's great.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in person next Monday.
We should try to figure out how to get
Yeah,
more folks involved.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do you want to hold down a committee on that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great.
Let's do it.
I nominate Boone to be the chair of that committee.
Nominate
Community
DJ.
engagement.
Yeah, put DJ on the committee too. There you go.
An ad hoc.
Ad hoc committee
Yeah.
for community engagement or whatever.
Delegate to follow on the subcommittee.
That's how it goes, dude. Yeah, put them both.
Wait, can we put things on the agenda for your meeting?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Well, let me go to the agenda.
Yeah, let's officially put it on the agenda. Or the ad hoc for community.
Sure.
Yeah, you know it now. Alright. Do we also, okay, let me go back to the agenda. Yeah, what's on the journal numbers? I lost it. I think I closed it. Oh, there it is. Okay. So we don't have any other agenda items so we are not allowed to discuss things, but we can put it on the agenda for next meeting. Okay, which is when we'll do the appointment to.
Yes,
other
so
committees.
at next Monday's meeting, I'll connect with you, Justin, before that meeting to get your, appointment.
Okay, that sounds great.
And then at that meeting, we'll formally appoint you and it'll be official.
All right, then we are adjourned at 6:26.